Hello everyone, this is week 12. Today we are going to show you a game called Hollow Knight. First, there are going to be the introduction, and then we'll show you why the chosen game is worth everyone's attention in 3 parts: grand world setting with exquisite detail display, growth-driven gaming experience with moderate difficulty, and the outstanding music. Hollow Knight is a 2D side-scrolling Metroidvania video game published in 2017 and developed by the independent game studio with only 3 developers. It contained 4 free DLC contents: Hidden Dreams, The Grim Tube, Lifeblood, and Godmaster, which were updated in 2017 and 2018, one after another. The player controls the knight, a nameless insectoid warrior who explores Hollow Nest, a fallen kingdom plagued by the infection, a supernatural disease. The game takes place in various underground locations and features both friendly and hostile insectoid characters, as well as numerous bosses. Players need to continually hone their rules and attack techniques to ensure that they are not stopped by the traps and enemies in the map. Players can unlock new abilities as they explore each area, as well as pieces of lore and text scattered throughout the kingdom. Players enter Hollow Knight's world after it has passed its glory days, a dying kingdom with a shattered society and fallen heroes. Players lead an emotionless knight with no name into that land to ward off the evil within. Storylines and background haven't been told to players. They need to find pieces of clues and puzzles in the game and restore the world setting step by step during the gameplay. The plot unfolds as players play. Some comes from conversations with adorable and quick characters who still live in the rundown kingdom, some from essential story events, and some from simply observing your surroundings and clues scattered about. For example, the marabou who lost his mind in the depths of the mines and just digging, the bus insect who waited for countless years in the huge and empty underground transportation hub. Seeing them after a grueling battle or an intense quest is not only a surprise but also a relief. It is this clever story design that balances the game with a backstory. Despite its muted color palette, the art in Hollow Knight is stunning and never dull. Characters, backgrounds, and even particle effects are all hand-drawn and seamlessly blended with subtle lighting effects. Each area of the map feels distinct and exciting, with its own color scheme, silent but energetic theme music, and scattered visual details. This game does a great job of memorizing the player's mental feelings through the art elements in the scenes. Vibrancy through green, sadness through dark blue, and numbness and forgetfulness through gray. But at the same time, the change of color tone, the change and excess of scene elements, and even the sound coming from the front when exploring a certain area all hint at the upcoming changes to the player. Even more distinctive is the art design of the game's characters, which always manages to show the players the characters' traits in the most obvious way possible. Professions, fighting styles, and even their personalities are all reflected in the clever design of their appearance. Speaking of the grand world setting of Hollow Knight, the map of Hollow Knight is ridiculously huge. It revolves around exploring an open map, hunting for secrets, and discovering abilities that allow you to access previously inaccessible areas. Its world design alone elevates it to the pinnacle of the genre.
At the beginning of the game, players doesn't have any maps. They need to buy maps from the human voice merchant. The maps highlight key areas to entice player to explore. Another major feature of the map system, its Hollow Knight, is that the map sometimes can be lack of instructions. Like the update of the map, the marking of the player's location and some key location. These things are not directly lighted on the map. The player needs to look for NPC to buy the appropriate prompts in order to realize these features above. Then, update the map at the bench. It will only update the area player has been to, but map does not contain it before. In other words, the unexplored area will maintain shaded, except for hidden areas, which is one of the important factors that attract players to explore. Hollow Knight's grand setting is built up with millions of little details. Players could complete the game without seeing 2/3 of what developers offered. Bosses, thoughtful stories, and entire sections of the map can remain hidden, adding to the sense of actually exploring this world when players do come across them. None of Hollow Knight's optional content feels like filler. Nothing in the world is random or disjointed. there is always a connection or explanation. The City of the Tears. For example, it's an underground metropolis in a Corinth where it never stops raining. But exploring the area high above the city reveals a large, serene lake resting in a cave directly overhead. These casual discoveries make learning Hollow Knight history exciting, acting as small puzzles that had no bearing on the player's progress, but are still enjoyable to solve. There are tons of distinct biomes in the whole world, and the ages of each one blend together with the next in ways that help them make sense in the world. The lush environmental of an area called Green Path feels bustling and humid, a stark difference from the cold, dark caves of the Forgotten Crossroads. Because each area has its particular biomes, the total fightable enemy types in Hollow Knight are over 160. Hollow Knight expands the process into a non-linear. As the map expands, various branches of map closely link together. The game designer does not make it mandatory for the player to go where, but make player choose by their own. No matter where to go, the player will be able to get clues. Sometimes the door locked, so the player cannot go back. Then the player needs to get a special skills to get out. A very classic design in Metroidvania games, blocking the way back, which requires the player to get something new before they can go back. The essence of Hollow Knight level design is that most of the maps are connected, and the player can always find another way out, skipping linear flow or boss fights to new areas.
Main charming experience of battle. Indeed, the first few hours of Hollow Knight can be a predictable and challenging experience. It's an unabashedly difficult game that does an excellent job of silently teaching you how to play. Still, it was a little intimidating at first, especially when that means fighting your way back to your corpse to reclaim your money, called Go. Before you can start keeping track of where you have been, you must first find a map setter named Conifer in each area, and even then, you must equip a specific charm, a unique system in the game to say where you are on it. Hollow Knight, on the other hand, made players never want to put it down once I figured out the rhythm of its combat, and the pattern of exploring its initially restricted cave systems. The combat in Hollow Knight is relatively simple, but it can be challenging at first, as players learn to time quick directional sword slashes with jumps and dashes. It massively rewards patience and skill. Killing enemies is more about sharp timing, learning attack patterns, and having quick reflexes than it is about the upgrades you earn along the way. Players can find upgrades to their weapon damage, increase their maximal health, and equip charms with various abilities. But more importantly, players improve as they progress. When players returned for a second playthrough, a boss who caused them so much trouble at the start of the game was a piece of cake. Other standing points of growth. While players' timing is critical, the combat itself is somewhat forgiving. Hitting enemies allows players to collect a resource called Soul, which they can use to heal themselves at any time as long as they are not hit. Hollow Knight also provides players with the ability to take a breath, get a soul, and regain health. The charm system is helping players take over the difficulty of the game as well. They can do simple things, such as increase the amount of soul you get from hitting enemies, or improve your attack range, as well as apply more complex modifications. The stronger the effect they have, the more notches they take. As playing runs, players will get more and more powerful charms. There were no wrong choices of charm selection, and developers encouraged players to develop their own fight style through this system. All these elements offer people a growth-driven experience. They could actually feel their progress and earn a sense of achievement. Hollow Knight's soundtrack doesn't just provide atmosphere, it's part of the story. Hollow Knight made an extremely magnificent soundtrack that if someone unfamiliar with the game heard the music on its own, then they would think it was an epic and melancholy score that a world-renowned composer had finely crafted. The soundtrack stands out with a quality far above your expectations for an indie game like this, or even most AAA games for that matter. Many games go for an orchestra to build up the intensity or present somber moments. but few demonstrate such an impact behind it. On the main menu, for example, players will hear Hollow Knight, the game's main track and theme. The piano and violin use this first movement to imbue players with sadness, a tense edge, and then some kind of hopefulness at the end that leaves players completely unsure whether to be happier or worried. It perfectly sums up the game and the world of Hollow Knight and prepares players for diving into it for the first time. Few games have handled music so well, but Hollow Knight did it flawlessly. Thanks for the work that Christopher Lucky provides for this project. It is unparalleled.